You're listening to episode 111, Paige's Story, a daughter with Nursemaid's Elbow. Okay, guys, so March is Child Life Month, and I wanted to take some time to feature some amazing organizations that are doing so much in the field of child life and so much to support children and families in crisis. A few weeks back, I had the opportunity to interview an expert in the field of child life about the impact of disasters on children and families. What we learned is that disasters, whether natural, man-made, or medical, can send families into crisis. Child Life Disaster Relief is an organization that empowers and supports children and families in crises by integrating child life professional services into disaster-impacted communities. Through individualized direct services, community outreach, education, and research, Child Life Disaster Relief mitigates the effects of traumatic events on children and families. Learn more through a free online resource library that is intended for parents, caregivers, and child life specialists. Find the free resources at www.cldisasterrelief.org and join efforts by donating and volunteering. Go to www.cldisasterrelief.org to learn more. Hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you're here today. Sometimes we talk about really intense diagnoses that last years and have so many medical experiences associated with them. And sometimes we talk about things that can be really acute, things that happen in the short term, things that are not severe but require medical attention. And today is one of those days. I interview a mom and a nurse in Alaska. Her name is Paige, and she talks about the crazy experience of her daughter having nursemaid's elbow. So if you have heard that term before, don't know what it is, don't know exactly what entailed and how do you fix it, you're going to want to listen to this episode. I'm so glad you're here today. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you guys know that if you are a parent, a child life specialist, or professional working with children, you're going to want the hospital or physician's office or urgent care that you take your kids to have the Child Life On-Call app. It is an evidence-based tool designed to empower children and families during medical experiences. And 100% of the child life specialists who have used this app believe that it can help with expanding child life's reach beyond the bedside. And 100% of child life specialists believe it helps parents feel more empowered in their child's care. Learn how to get the Child Life On-Call app for your facility or doctor's office by going to childlifeoncall.com/partners. So why don't you just start off and kind of introduce yourself and your family, and you're our first Alaska interviewer, Alaska representative. So talk a little bit about that would be really cool to hear, and just let us know who you are.
Okay. My name is Paige Clem, and I live in Anchorage, Alaska with my husband and my daughter. We've been here almost 8 years now, and we love living here. It is definitely far away from my hometown and family and friends from school and other workplaces, but we do love it up here. And I am a nurse. I work at a local hospital here in Anchorage, and my background is primarily surgical focused. I've worked some in education for staff, but then also I work now in supply chain. So I've had some cool jobs in the medical field.
It's like the more jobs you have in the hospital, the more you realize how many layers there are to the end result of patient care, and just how much goes into that.
Yeah. And what makes it all happen.
Yeah.
And then having a child and being on that side of it with other stuff, to be able to see stuff from a patient perspective again is really eye-opening with something, because this is what we do day in, day out. And it's easy to just kind of look at it all from a clinical perspective and forget that every single encounter you have is potentially life-changing for all of these patients.
Yeah, and very memorable too. It's you're not really ever sure what part they're going to remember. So it's good to keep in mind.
Yeah, certainly.
So you were interested in sharing your story kind of from your mom/nurse perspective about Nursemaid's elbow. And so why don't you tell us about your situation?
Yeah. So I actually did not know anything about Nursemaid's elbow until we went and saw an orthopedic PA at a clinic. And so what happened is my daughter is about 18 months and she is just the cutest little normal toddler, nice tantrums, runs around saying what she wants and what she doesn't want. She is kind of on the little side. And so we do tend to kind of like pick her up with one arm here and there and that type of thing, swing her around, which when I compare with some of my other friends' kiddos who are so much bigger, it's not something you can easily do just because of their weight difference. And so I was actually at an auto repair shop getting my oil changed and my tires changed over for the Alaska winter. And Heidi and I had gone on like a walk outside and done some stuff, and we were back inside, and I kind of picked her up by her arm, and she just kept saying, owie, owie, owie afterwards, and I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. Because she's at that toddler stage where, yes, she talks, but she can't tell you what's wrong.
Right.
She doesn't really point to what's wrong. She's just saying owie. And so she was kind of favoring her right arm and not really using it. So, kind of like most things with little toddlers, I figure she'll just kind of recover on her own. Because it is even amazing to me how often she can like hit her head and then she's totally okay.
Yep.
So we got her home, we ate dinner. I gave her a bath because I thought that would be a really good way to figure out what was hurting her and be able to kind of see, is there something bruised or, does something look odd, and really be able to kind of touch all of her arm and shoulders to figure out what was hurting her. So I couldn't see that anything looked wrong. Nothing looked broken. She wouldn't use her arm, like eating dinner, picking up her toys or anything. So I decided just to give her a little bit of Tylenol, put her to bed. She slept through the night just fine. And then in the back of my head, I knew, okay, if this is still a problem in the morning, my plan is to probably go to we have an orthopedic clinic in town, and they have a walk-in clinic 7 days a week. Like, we'll go there because I figured that was better, certainly than the emergency room, but also probably better than urgent care even, because I figured it was something orthopedic with her arm. So when she woke up the next morning, she slept great. And that is one of the amazing things about her, is she is a wonderful sleeper. She, sat eating breakfast with her right arm straight down by her side and only ate with her left hand, which is just not her norm.
Yeah.
So then I kind of tested a couple more things out of like putting like a toy and a passy, that type of thing, down on her right side, and she wouldn't grab it with her right arm. So I was like, okay, we'll finish breakfast, we'll get dressed, and we'll be ready at the clinic right when they open. So during this time, my husband had gone out of town to go on a little duck hunting trip. So of course I have to basically call him and tell him that I'm like, something's wrong with Heidi. I don't know what's going on.
This stuff always happens when a partner is out of town. Like, nothing really ever adds up. So it's like, this works and you can help. But yeah, it just never works that way.
I know. Well, and the whole ironic thing is, so that Friday, school was out and daycare was closed for like teacher in service. So I took the day off when we ran errands. So my husband made a joke. He's like, she stays one home day with you.
You're like, thanks.
Having to take her in. Yeah. So I'm having to relay this information to him over the phone of kind of what's going on. And I sent him a couple pictures. He's like, yeah, she is acting odd. So we go down to the clinic, and I'm telling my husband, I'm like, because he's supposed to be back that morning. I'm telling him, okay, like, I'll let you know what I'm doing, but when you get home, get showered and ready in case you need to come meet us or something, because I have no idea what's wrong. At this point, I'm thinking, is her shoulder dislocated or what's going on? So we get to the clinic and get checked in. And, she's just walking around picking up books, like totally fine, acting like nothing's bothering her. And the PA comes in, and basically after reading what I'm describing is happening with her, and he watches her for just a couple of minutes, he automatically goes, okay, there's this super common thing in kids. It's called nursemaid's elbow. And I just am kind of baffled. Like, I've never heard of this before.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe you think that's what this is, like, so quickly.
Yeah.
And so he has me do a few things, and he's like, see if, like, try to hand her a toy with that arm, or will she let you move it, kind of what's going on, just to interact with her to see what else she would do with her arm. And then he walks over and just kind of nonchalantly takes her arm, places it in like the straight position, and then pulls it back into place. And Heidi like cries a little bit and goes, owie, owie. And then is kind of whining and sitting in my lap for a couple minutes. And then very quickly is completely back to normal.
Oh my gosh. We'll be right back. When Magic Mind creator James Bashara was diagnosed with a heart condition, his doctor made him give up a lot of his daily caffeine intake. So he worked with a team of doctors and food scientists to develop Magic Mind. Magic Mind has more benefits than just keeping you awake, though, and includes ingredients that help you feel less stress, think more clearly, and stay on task. If you want to join me in crushing your to-do list, then go to magicmind.co/childlife and enter code CHILDLIFE for 20% off your order. It's easy for parents and healthcare workers to feel burnt out and exhausted, so do yourself a favor like I did and get 20% off Magic Mind by going to magicmind.co/childlife and using code CHILDLIFE. If you are looking for a way to make a child in your life smile, then you have to go to smilemakers.com and go through all of the must-have toys, stickers, and prizes for kids. You'll find everything you need to make the hospital, waiting room, or even your own living room more fun with games, crafts, and prizes for every occasion. I also have very good news for you because when you go to smilemakers.com and type in OnCall20, you will get 20% off with no minimum order required. So stock up on bundles made specifically for hospital procedures and therapeutic play and make these already very affordable items more affordable with OnCall20. That's smilemakers.com and OnCall20 for 20% off your entire order. So did he tell you that he was going to do that, or he just walked over and did it?
He just walked over and did it. And which I'm glad about because it didn't freak me out to freak her out and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, I could feel it pop back into place. And then we were able to kind of hand her some things, and she was already bending her elbow up more. And then he wanted to give her some time just to kind of see how she was doing. Will she move around with it more? And we were going to do some x-rays just to be sure everything else looked okay. So by the time we're taking x-rays, she is climbing on everything in the little office room. She's totally fine.
That's so crazy.
It's so bizarre to me. And so he explains, what it all is with nursemaid's elbow. It's essentially dislocating your elbow, and it happens in little kids because their joints are all so loose and flexible. And I think it's something that happens more commonly in some kids than others. But that's why you're not supposed to pick kids up by their wrists or swing them around that way. And so, all of this, obviously I know now, but, going and talking to a few friends afterwards, I've had so many be like, yep, that's why. And they look at their husband. That's why I tell you we're not supposed to pick them up by their wrists and this and that. And it's, it's just funny. Only other people that I've really known that, knew much about this, it's because they knew somebody who it happened to.
Yeah.
And so, some of us definitely seem to know somebody. It's yeah, that happened to my cousin, or yeah, that happened to my friend of a friend. But it sounds more like something that a lot of people kind of know why you're not supposed to do it, but aren't really familiar with it happening to their kiddos. So
right. And it seems like the more you talk about it, it's like, okay, you can, it's one of those medical problems that's really nice because there's a really immediate treatment and then it's done. Like that doesn't often happen.
No, it was honestly one of the most ideal recovery fix situations that there could have been.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, like what could be wrong? Is she going to end up in a sling or like is something
exactly.
broken? What's going on? And really, of all things to be wrong, for him to be able to set it back into place so easily, I gave her some Motrin maybe that day, and she has been totally fine ever since. There's no bruise, there's no nothing. And so out of all of the things that are going to happen with a kiddo, especially with like an arm issue, this is like the best outcome you could have.
Oh my gosh. Well, like this is the happiest ending we've ever had on this podcast. And I love it.
Oh, that is true. I mean, it really is, looking back at it, it was something that was like fixed that day. And when I brought her to daycare on Monday, I, explained what happened just to be sure in case she started hurting or something was going on, that they knew. And they were all the teachers were like, yep, it's very common. We've all heard of it and that type of stuff. I'm like, okay.
I wonder where Nursemaid comes from. Did he explain that?
No. And I haven't really read anything on it.
Do you want to know what I'm predicting in my head?
Yeah.
Okay. Back in colonial times, there were a lot of maids who were caring for babies, and they had to have so many babies that they would like grab them to hold them however they could, and then they'd get nursemaid's elbow.
I guess so.
Well, I mean, I feel like that could stick. I don't know if that's true or not, but I should probably look that up.
It would be a nice little fact to know. That's so interesting.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this because I think it will help other families recognize it a little bit faster and realize there is an easy fix for it. Like you don't have to get super stressed, which is really, really nice. And just, I love what you did that you just went straight to the ortho office. Like that's a great thing to Google. Do you have one of those in your town to go to so you can bypass all of the other stops before you get there?
Right. Because certainly emergency room, I am sure, especially a children's emergency room, would have known what this was and been able to fix it. But it wouldn't have been as quick as what we did.
Yeah.
And this happened, I guess it was a month ago. And our hospitals for the last couple of months here in town have been overwhelmed and really full. And so if at all possible, I want to avoid just being in the hospital and draining resources like that. And, being around other sick kiddos. So, I mean, I already work at a hospital and she goes to daycare. So I feel like we're exposed enough as it is.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
But, that was one of the things a friend asked me, well, how did you know to go there? And I was like, oh, they have a 7-day-a-week clinic. And she was like, oh, good to know. Like everybody with kids has got to know where a good ortho clinic or something like that is in town.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm sure between the monkey bars and Nursemaid's elbow, they're busy all the time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share about y'all's experience that you didn't get to yet?
I don't think so. It's just so interesting. Heidi has had some other health problems and ended up with a feeding tube, and she's totally fine now. But it's interesting, all the kind of odd things that you deal with as a parent that you obviously never think that you could have never dreamed that you would even have been dealing with or learn about. And so it's, especially as a nurse, and I've, been a nurse for 14 years now, kind of coming across things that I'm not familiar with still. There's just still more mysteries out there.
Totally. It's not written in the handbook at all, which would have been really helpful when we take the baby home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Paige. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you for listening to the Child Life On Call podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor, and you can follow us at Child Life On Call on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please rate and review to make it easier for other families to find us. We have cute merch available at www.bonfire.com/store/childlifeoncall, and you can listen to more episodes and find resources at childlifepodcast.com.